Welcome to the University of Alabama with Coach Sarah Patterson. I'm Tom Roberts. Sarah, congratulations. Great trip to Penn State and a significant increase in the score to a 196.15.
Well, it was a great trip. Well, first of all, we were excited to go because so many of our friends and family can come. And even more important, we were excited to be able to come home because the weather changed dramatically while we were there and went from about 50 degrees down to in the 20s with rain, and we were a little, had a little bit of trouble getting back, but it was a good night for our ladies. We weren't perfect, but we improved tremendously from the first meet, and I hope if we can make that much improvement going into this next week, then we will have achieved our goals.
And you come up with the #1 ranking in America. Florida now #2, so sets up a great meet for Friday night here at Coleman.
Well, it does, and the rankings are they're important, but we all know that it's the ranking at the end that really is important. But I think from a fan perspective, anytime it's #1 versus #2, that matchup doesn't happen too often, and against an SEC rival, and even more important, to have it on such a special night with our Power of Pink and Drive for the Cure and our breast cancer awareness meet. I don't think, from a marketing standpoint and from a coaching standpoint, I don't think I could ask for anything more.
It's certainly a great week coming up, and we'll talk a lot more. That's the reason Sarah's dressed in pink, by the way, for this show. But we're going to go to Pennsylvania and see the Crimson Tide in action. First of all, on the floor exercise. That's coming up here on the Sarah Patterson Show. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Sarah Patterson Show. We're headed off to the state of Pennsylvania, and Sarah, Penn State and Arizona, the competition. Once again, you use freshmen, 14 of 24 routines, this time by first-year gymnasts.
Well, it was exciting, and our freshmen, they've done a great job. They've adjusted well. They're not perfect, and you can see from time to time we get some nerves and a little anxiety, but I think putting them out there is the best thing for us. While we may have a few mistakes early on in the season, I think late in the season, getting those freshmen as much experience as we possibly can is what's going to serve to make us a better team.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about it. Well, let's look at the Crimson Tide in action at Pennsylvania State University, and we start on the floor, and the champion on the floor on this particular evening, freshman Brittany Magee.
What was exciting about Brittany's performance is she actually struggled a little bit in warm-ups. She was just a little short on a couple of tumbling passes, and there she turned it up a notch and did a great job. I think Brittany enjoyed this. I think she is finding herself that college gymnastics is much more fun. And seems to be doing a great job fitting in with the girls in just the few short weeks that she's been here. She does 2 whips here into immediate double pike. Great landing on that, right with the music.
And this is a 9.90 for Brittany. And this is bound to give her all kinds of confidence as the season progresses.
Well, I think it will. She did 3 events for us, and she did a great job on all 3 events. What I'd like to see her do is get her bar routine polished a little bit more so we can get her in there on bars and the all-around, because she is a wonderfully talented young lady.
Well, on this particular evening, she's very good on the 3 events in which she competes. And
she makes this pass look really easy. It is a front double full. You'll see a lot of gymnasts open with a front double full. It's an E-level tumbling pass, and it just sets her routine to a different level.
Yet another freshman, Melanie Banville, is going to come up with a 9.825. She had a good opening meet. Was this one better?
She did. She struggled on balance beam at the end of the meet, but we upgraded this tumbling pass. That was a double back with a full twist, so it's a full, what we call a full in. And she upgrades her first tumbling pass, and then she upgrades her last tumbling pass. She's just a little short on the first landing here. Now this is a D-level tumbling pass. A 2.5 to a punch front was much cleaner this week.
Was it pretty well the case with all of your gymnasts that this week you increased the difficulty just a little bit?
Yes, we did in most instances, especially on floor, because that was the area where we just didn't have quite enough endurance last week. What was really nice was that Melanie's parents, Christine and Jerry Banville, were able to join us from Canada. It was 7 hours for them, so they got to see their daughter for the first time in a college meet, and we had a tremendous amount of parents come from that area, and I had family from upstate New York, and we had alumni join us. It
Like
really, from the
homecoming,
East Coast,
wasn't
it was great. We had, if you'll notice this side of the fans there, that's pretty much crimson in that
That's
area
right.
there. A double pike, just a little short on the landing.
Then Ashley Miles, a 9.85. And typically, she's going to go 9.95. Was there a problem here and there?
Well, I think if you'll see right here on her first tumbling pass, nice double layout. She's right, has to step back. You have to take just a little balance error on that. But as I told Ashley, I would much rather her over-rotate at this point in the season on those ankles than under-rotate.
Yes.
We upgraded Ashley's tumbling as well. This pass right here, she starts off front handspring, front full, front layout, was her last pass last week. And then we, this week we put the double back at the end. This is where she's kind of playing to the crowd and everybody's watching her.
She always seems to be the center of attention when she's performing. With good reason. She's a great one.
There, right there was a little balance error on her jump double full. We just have to work on that a little bit. But, you know, I like the fact that she was able to increase her difficulty in her tumbling. And she puts this double pike last pass. Gives her a D-level tumbling move last pass. Just one little step forward.
A great start for the Crimson Tide at Penn State. And I have an idea, Sarah, anytime the draw comes up and you start on the floor, you got to be happy.
Well, I like that event first, especially in a longer meet like this. It works out well for us. And, you know, even a championship event, if you draw that, you end on balance beam. Well, half of our meets every year we end on balance beam because that's the format for an away competition. So that's fine with me. It really doesn't matter where we start.
Well, it does matter where you finish, and the Crimson Tide finishes very well in this. We're going next to see the vault and the bars. So stay with us right here on the Sarah Patterson Show. You're back on the Sarah Patterson Show. We're looking at the Crimson Tide in action against Penn State and Arizona at Penn State University. Sarah, you go to the vault after the floor exercise, and again, freshmen dominated.
Well, they did a really good job. Melanie Banville got us off to a great start. Ashley anchored us. We're not as deep as I want to be on this event right now, but I think we saw from Kaitlin White probably one of her best performances that she's had.
To me, that's one of the great signs is the freshmen are great, the seniors you know are wonderful, but then a sophomore, isn't
Kaitlin is a sophomore, yes.
Comes on very strong, doesn't she?
Well, she does, and that's what we needed for her. That's what we recruited her to do, and she had struggled a little bit during her freshman year, and I think this particular meet hopefully was a breakout for her.
Well, let's look at the Crimson Tide on the vault at Penn State. And like Sarah said, Melanie Banville starting with a 9.80.
Melanie was a little to the right side of the horse, and she was in warm-ups too, so we'll have to fix that in practice. But it was a good start for us. Nice 10.0 vault.
And here's Kaitlin with a 9.8.
From this camera angle, it's a little difficult to see the improvement she's made. She was much further up in the air, and her distance away from the horse was good.
Ashley O'Neill, a 9.85.
Ashley's vault was much better than the first meet. It was tighter. Her legs are still a little bit apart on the front side, but I thought she was much more in control of this vault. And it was the second time she had competed it.
And then Brittany closes it out with a 9.825. I think it's actually a 9.925 that she had on there, but a good solid meet for you on the vault.
Well, Brittany did do a very good job for us, and we just need to work a little bit more on her not piking down. But these technical things we'll work on, but I thought they adjusted great.
Yeah, very athletic vaults. Well, let's go with the Crimson Tide now to the uneven bars. Another good performance for Alabama at Penn State University. And the first gymnast we're going to see in action is Kaitlin White. And Caitlin's one of the ones that you just talked about. Her sophomore year proven to be a very, very good one.
Well, I think so. I think this was a breakout meet for her. I'm hoping her vault was good. This was the best bar routine she's done in competition.
All right, here we go with Kaitlin, who's going to start with a 9.85. Some really good scores on the vault.
Her first full pirouette was a little late. That was her biggest deduction, but she does a nice big ginger, nice handstand here into what we call a pack salto. So that's two major release moves with bonus. Her handstand on the low bar was nice and in handstand. She comes up here, and Kaitlin sometimes has struggled at the end of her routine. It's a great handstand. This is a much better full pirouette on top of the bar, and she has a great dismount with a good stick, which is what she has had problems with.
And with her parents from Canada on hand, here's Melanie Banville with a 9.85.
Melanie had a little bit of problem with bars this fall and did not make the lineup the first week. So this is a step forward for her, and she does a full pirouette into a Tkachev to give her bonus, and into a second release move, a straddle back to a handstand. What I really like about this routine here is she has this beautiful dismount, 2 giants into a gorgeous double layout. And she just was a little short on sticking the landing, came out just a hair early, but a great step forward for her.
Another freshman, Courtney Priest, going to get a 9.8.
You know, when you're making your lineup up and you're trying to determine where people go, you know, you really don't want 3 freshmen in a row, but you know, you really, when you're putting that many in, you don't have a choice. You got to put them together someplace. So Courtney does a nice job here. Uprise to a handstand, just a little bit short. Toe on, toe off handstand, giant, and she does a good dismount.
And then Terin Humphrey closes it out for the Crimson Tide on the uneven bars, and Terin, as you'd expect, a 9.9.
Well, and we backed up a little bit. This is Terin's shorter bar routine. We had trained a longer bar routine for her this week, but she was a little slow this weekend, and so we just elected to go back and do the shorter routine, and we'll just, you know, she may just need a little more time before we get to that longer routine. But nice handstands here, and she does a beautiful dismount.
The uneven bars, you score very well on it. I would assume that this was a meet where, no disrespect meant to Penn State or Arizona, you knew you were going to post a good score, but did you think you'd get a 196?
You know, I really don't pay much attention to the scores. Okay. I look individually at the deductions or think to make sure that I'm on the same page with the judges in terms of their start values. You know, you really don't compare that much. So as long as we're getting better, I don't really compare the scores from one week to the next. I'm just looking for improvement, because I think there's a human side to it where, you know, different judges are going to judge differently on different nights. So we just kind of keep going with the performance. All right, the performance for the Crimson Tide ended at Penn State on the balance beam. We'll go there next on the Sarah Patterson Show. On the Sarah Patterson Show, we go to the Crimson Tide closing out a great performance at Penn. Back on the Sarah Patterson Show, we go to the Crimson Tide closing out a great performance at Penn State with a nice scoring night on the beam. Ashley O'Neill, a 9.75, Sarah. This is Ashley's first performance on the balance beam. Actually, it was her first on floor exercise and the balance beam, and I thought she did a really good job. Right here, she does her tumbling series, a flip-flop layout, step out, and you can see that smile. Ashley is a competitor, but I can tell you she was very nervous when she got up here. I could see it on her, and then when she makes her big skills, then she relaxes a little bit. There's a switch split to a straddle That's worth 3/10 bonus, 2 for the first 2 leaps and 1 for the third leap. You don't see many gymnasts smile on the beam. I know. Ashley she has a great personality. And this is a nice punch front, a little loose at the ending there. You can just see she's just a little tentative. But she reminds me on balance beam, both in the way she moves and her skills. She reminds me a lot of former gymnast Andrea Pickens. And here's a nice big double front, huge dismount at the end, very difficult. And as you can see, she's excited. And Cassie Martin, we're going to hear from her in a moment, but a really great performance at 9.9 for Cassie. Well, I think Cassie just shows right here that if you do your skills, she has great level skills. They're not the hardest of anyone in terms of her dismount or anything, but if you do them and you are exceptionally clean, then you will be rewarded. That leap she just did there was a switch split, and you couldn't see, but her back leg was in a ring position. What a ring position means, it's bent back behind her head, where the foot almost comes back up to touch her head. That's a hard skill. Yes. Now she goes to a flip-flop to a layout. She had a front aerial before that, but you can see she's very solid here. It was exciting because she had so many family members come to support her from the Maryland area. I think there was 15 or so different support people for her, and I know she was really excited about doing a great job and winning her first collegiate event here. This is the first event she's ever won. Switch split to a ring jump.
You can see that leg, that foot almost come up and touch the back of the head.
Now she's going to do her dismount. It's a flip-flop to a layout. It's a sea-level dismount, but she just nails the landing, and her body position was great.
A 9.90 for Cassie. Then Terin Humphrey with a 9.70, starting with the spin.
You can see she goes 1, 2.5 right there. She was a half short of what she normally does. It's still a D-level skill. It doesn't matter. It's just, it was a little bit short. She said the bean was a little slippery when she was turning on it, and you know, when you're doing a skill like that, you really have to adjust. It's a full twisting flip-flop to a layout. A little around the side there. She took a little bit of a deduction.
From this angle, you see just how narrow that beam actually is.
Front somersault was nice, executed well. There was a little discrepancy right here. She goes switch split. She stops and doesn't connect to this particular series right here. So one judge was 0.2 lower on her start value because that's a requirement. And when she came off the beam, I told her, I said, you know, I'm concerned about your start value. I think it's, if I was the judge, I would not have given it to you. One judge did, one judge didn't, and then a sea-level gainer full dismount. So, you know, it's just important because I think she learned now that she could also add some skills in if she needed to.
Here's Brittany Magee closing out a great night for her and for the freshman class. She gets a 9.775. And I'll tell everyone that our photographer and our head coach didn't necessarily get together here.
Oh, goodness.
Nice hair.
Yeah.
It kind of covers up a little bit of Brittany's routine, but she fights through this one, doesn't she?
She does. She was a little off, but you know, she still has great skills. This is the front aerial, a D-level skill. And she recovered nicely. Even though she was off just a little bit, she recovered nicely on it. Nice.
That, to me, is very, very important, isn't it?
That full turn was a difficult full turn. You are required to do a full turn, but you don't have to do it with your leg out horizontal. So she does a good job here. Now she, too, is going to do a punch front, which is a D-level skill. And she's already had one front skill, and here's another one.
Pretty good.
I guess that cameraman could have told me he was there, huh?
It's one of those things that happen on the road occasionally, but the wonderful thing about this, a great road performance by the Crimson Tide.
Round off double back.
Brittany with a 9.775. That gives you the highlights of the meet at Penn State. We're going to come back and talk to Cassie Martin when we continue on the Sarah Patterson Show. Sarah and I have talked a great meet at Penn State with lots of family for Cassie Martin, and last week I had a chance to talk with the Bama freshman from Maryland. First of all, why did you choose the University of Alabama?
Well, first of all, the team and the coaches are just great, and everyone here is so nice. It's different from being up north, and it's just a great program, and it's where I felt most comfortable.
And some of the athletes that you're competing with now, say for instance in Ashley Miles, is that a person that's kind of a role model?
Yeah, I mean, she's a great person, and she's really good, and she knows she's good, and she tries to help us in practice every day and with everything. She's just really nice and very inspirational.
What's the biggest change from before you came to Alabama to now? What's been the toughest thing for you?
I feel like it matters more because I have other people counting on me. It's not just about myself anymore, and it makes it more nerve-wracking and harder.
The schoolwork wasn't very tough, was it?
It was tough, but I worked hard and I got good grades.
I know you've got very good grades. As you go through this season, do you anticipate that this is going to be a team that's going to start where in the one note at 95 range and just get better?
Yeah, I mean, especially with 8 freshmen. Like I said, I was nervous, but we should all get better and more consistent as we go along and hopefully contend for the national championship.
Just a freshman, but Cassie already talking like a Crimson Tide gymnast about national championships. The road to a national championship continues this week here in Tuscaloosa. Friday night, University of Florida, great night, especially Think Pink.
Well, it is. It's the #1 team against the #2 team. It just doesn't happen very often. We're extremely excited about it, and we hope everybody will come. We want them to think pink and wear pink and join us Friday night. And if they want a T-shirt, all they have to do is go out to Tuscaloosa Toyota right now, and they're giving away T-shirts, pink T-shirts that promote the meet. So we just want to make sure that everybody knows to come and get those tickets now. They can call rolltide.com, get on rolltide.com, or call 348-BAMA and reserve their tickets now.
Well, I hope we'll see you Friday night at Coleman Coliseum for the Florida Gators, and right back here next week for the Sarah Patterson Show.